months more delayed.
And we know this really could not have come at a worse time for those travel.
So this is hi from Amsterdam. Happy New Year. Not so happy. Someone was stupid.
Oh la dinguerie! En gros, bouge, bouge, bouge.
Do you feel like the world is spinning out of control faster than usual these days? As 2026 just begins, snow buries whole cities, fires burn down historic places, and strange lights fill the sky like whispers from heaven. Everything is coming at us so fast it takes your breath away, like a ticking time bomb counting down. In just the short stretch from December 31st, 2025 to January 2nd, 2026, record-breaking blizzards tore through America, tornadoes ripped across the sky, churches caught fire, massive floods swallowed Aceh, and Mount Etna erupted fiercely. These disasters aren't scattered anymore, they're piling up one after another, like the urgent beat of a drum as time runs out. Do you think this is all just coincidence? Or is it something planned? This isn't only bad luck. A lot of folks believe these are warnings from God, calling people to repent before it's too late. And now, let's take a closer look at those 10 shocking events. Are you ready to face what might be coming? If your heart skips a beat, please leave a prayer in the comments below so God can hear your voice and keep you and your family safe through the coming year. Amen. And so you don't have to wait long. Right now, we're going to dive straight into 1. Crazy blizzard in Oswego, New York. The new year had just started when America got hit with a real cold shock. Snow came down hard and fast on Oswego, New York, turning the whole town by Lake Ontario into a frozen mess overnight on December 31, 2025. It showed up without any warning, like an early heads-up from the cold, and we headed into 2026, feeling like time was dragging on forever, as if nature wouldn't let anyone get ready. Oswego is used to lake-effect snowstorms, but the winter of 2025 to 2026 broke all the old records. In just a few hours, the snow piled up higher, winds whipped stronger, and the sky closed in tight. Roads that were usually busy just vanished under all that white, and the usual safe feeling of a new year quickly turned into worry spreading everywhere. From the evening of December 31, 2025, through the early morning of January 2, 2026, winds gusted around 40 miles per hour, blowing straight into town and whipping snow into blinding walls that made it almost impossible to see. Snow buildup in Oswego and nearby areas went over 40 inches, while Watertown got another 12 to 24 inches, Buffalo around 12 inches, and Erie hit 24 inches. Power went out, roads shut down, lots of neighborhoods were cut off completely, and rescue teams had a tough time in the bad conditions getting to each house. Weather experts explain this comes from lake effect snow, when Arctic cold air rushes down over the warmer Lake Ontario, making thick bands of steady snow. Since 2024, these kinds of storms have happened about 50% more often and stronger, partly because of climate changes making bigger temperature differences. The economic damage is guessed in the millions of dollars, with traffic stopped, supply chains broken, and everyday life frozen solid. In that all-white scene, the Bible comes to mind more as a gentle reminder than a judgment. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events, and great signs from heaven." These words don't explain the science of the storm, but they put it in a line of warnings that have been around for a long time. Oswego is just the starting point, a chilly news story kicking off a string of unsettled days. With the snow still not melted, our sense of safety has already been shaken, leaving a question hanging in the air. If this is only the beginning, what's waiting up ahead? And when this ice starts to crack, will the next storm be strong enough to swallow more than just one town? 2. trumpet-shaped tornado in an American suburb. The video starts with a gray sky that's torn open, and right in the middle of the frame is a tornado shaped like nothing you've ever seen before. It's not wide and bulging like the usual funnel. Instead, it's long and slender, narrowing, and then widening out, just like a giant trumpet standing upright in the American suburbs on the morning of January 1, 2026. That sight grabs you and won't let go, because the question hits you right away. Is this really just a regular tornado? Or is something else being blown from the sky? In the clip that's spreading fast, the tornado twists slowly, with a narrow base and a body stretching hundreds of feet, hanging there like it's looking for a spot to touch the ground. Houses in the suburban area, said to be near Minneapolis, shake hard. Trees snap and fall. Roofs get ripped off. But what really gives you chills isn't just the wind. It's the strange shape of it. When you watch frame by frame, it doesn't feel like a weather event. It feels like watching a living symbol caught on a security camera. That's where the Bible comes up for a lot of folks, as a way to make sense of that odd image. Revelation 8-6 says, "The 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets got ready to blow them." Those old words don't talk about tornadoes, but the picture of a trumpet sounding in a chaotic sky makes plenty of people think that some signs aren't just for seeing. They're meant to wake us up. On the other hand, from a scientific view, weather experts give a completely different explanation. They say it's a rare type of tornado that forms when there's strong wind shear vertically, mixed with unusually warm, moist air in the middle of winter, creating that narrow, stretched-out structure. America is no stranger to tornadoes, but the winter of 2026 kicked off with events that break the rules. Following 2025, when there was an EF5 recorded in North Dakota and a similar trumpet tornado case in Utah. 2 ways of seeing it sit side by side in the same video. One, as an apocalyptic symbol, the other as cold, data-based weather analysis. The video has no narration, but that silence pushes you to decide for yourself how to take it. For you, when you see that trumpet-shaped tornado twisting slowly across the sky, what comes to mind? A rare weather oddity, or a signal being sounded to remind us of something bigger? No matter how you explain it, the truth is still there. The wind roared, the images were captured, and that uneasy feeling is hard to shake. When the tornado faded without taking any lives, it left behind a puzzling emptiness, as if its purpose wasn't destruction, but a warning. And now that this trumpet has appeared, the haunting question hangs in the air. If this is the opening blast, where will the next one sound? 3. Fire at the Vondelkerk in Amsterdam. In the early hours of New Year's Day, when many families were still sharing wishes for peace, flames swallowed up the Vondelkerk, a church over 150 years old, right in the heart of Amsterdam. Thick black smoke rose quietly into the sky, leaving a deep sense of loss and sorrow. Amid the sound of fireworks welcoming the new year, did you notice it almost sounded like the quiet weeping of memories turning to ash? Built back in 1872, the Vondelkerk started as a place of worship and later became a cultural spot for city events. But in the early morning of January 1st, 2026, a burst of New Year's Eve fireworks turned history into a sea of fire. Across the Netherlands, there were 2 deaths, a record number of over 250 arrests for violence. And in the middle of all that chaos, the Vondelkerk stood as a painful symbol of a night that was supposed to be full of joy. The fire started around 12:45 a.m. and spread quickly up the old tower. In no time, the bell tower, about 164 feet high, collapsed, cutting power to around 90 nearby homes and forcing people in the area to evacuate in a panic. No one was hurt at the scene, but officials had to admit it can't be saved. Those pictures bring back memories of the Notre Dame fire in 2019, where rebuilding costs ran into hundreds of millions of dollars. But some things lost can never be bought back, no matter the price. In those ashes, the Bible rings out like a stern warning. Matthew 24:2 says, "Truly I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another, Everyone will be thrown down. The words don't mention Amsterdam, but the image feels all too familiar. Historic stones crumbling, and at the same time, human pride laid bare. And this isn't just one isolated case. In 2024, Europe saw reports of many church fires and attacks linked to extremism and hatred. When places of worship burn, it's not just wood and stone going up in flames. It's the spiritual memories of whole communities being violated. Psalm 74:7 warns, "They burned your sanctuary to the ground. They defiled the dwelling place of your name." Of course, arguments broke out right away. Some say it was just a fireworks accident, and we shouldn't read religious meaning into it. Others believe these repeated events point to a deeper moral crisis, where celebrations push aside reverence. Among all these differing views, where do you stand? A random mishap or a warning we're ignoring? What's undeniable is that a clear message of caution has appeared. Isaiah 1:21 describes, "The faithful city has become a prostitute, full of injustice." When religious symbols become mere formality, collapse isn't surprising anymore. The fire didn't just burn a building, it shines a light right on the state of our true faith. The church has burned, the embers are still smoldering, and the question hangs in the air over Europe. If a historic place of worship can vanish in just a few hours, can the others hold strong against the fires of the end times that seem to be spreading? 4. Bar fire in Crans, Montana, Switzerland. At 1:30 inches the morning on New Year's Day, the La Constellation Bar in Crans, Montana suddenly turned into a nightmare. The music got drowned out by panicked screams. Thick black smoke rolled in and swallowed the lights, turning the fun spot into a deadly trap. Videos that spread online show people pushing desperately to get out, every second feeling like it could mean life or death. The fire started in the basement, they say, and spread fast through the ventilation system, while blocked emergency exits left the crowd with nowhere to run. Bodies collapsed in the toxic smoke, arms reaching out helplessly for rescue. It all creates this suffocating sense of no way out. Just imagine being there for a moment. The music fades, and all that's left is the heat and pure terror. The aftermath hits hard, cold as the numbers. 47 dead, 115 badly injured, many flown out by helicopter because local hospitals couldn't handle it all. Switzerland declared 5 days of national mourning. Condolences poured in from around the world, but the loss is something you can't put a measure on. One night of New Year's celebration, and a whole generation of memories gone. This tragedy brings back memories of the Kiss nightclub fire in Brazil back in 2013, where 242 people lost their lives to fire and toxic smoke. Two disasters more than 10 years apart, but the same old story. Flammable materials, lax safety checks, and that wrong idea that it won't happen here. 1 Thessalonians 5:3 warns about it. When people are saying peace and safety, destruction will come on them suddenly. Early reports on the cause have sparked a lot of debate. Some say it was just an unpredictable technical accident. Others question management responsibility, fire safety standards, and loose inspections at high-end entertainment spots. Amid all the opinions, one thing's undeniable: people paid with their lives. The Bible comes in here like a strong warning against modern complacency. Revelation 18:8 says, "Therefore, in one day, her plagues will overtake her: death, mourning, and famine. She will be consumed by fire." Those words aren't just about one city or building. They're about a whole way of life that thinks lights and music can hide every danger. The fire in Crans, Montana didn't just burn down a bar. It lit up worries about a chaotic future where similar disasters could happen again if warnings keep getting ignored. 47 souls gone that dark night. How many more names will end up on the next list of heartbreak? 5. A strange cross-shaped object in the Australian sky. The Australian sky on New Year's night opened up to something hard to put into words. In the quiet darkness, a glowing object shaped like a cross hung there, its golden light sparkling as if lit from beyond the clouds. That moment made people pause, because something inside told them not every night brings signs like this, and we were facing something beyond our usual way of explaining things. The object moved slowly and smoothly, like it was drifting, with no sound at all and no smoke trail, just pure light hanging in the air. In the videos going around, the cross would brighten and then fade, almost like it was breathing along with the sky. A holy feeling spread through everyone, and an unusual quiet fell over the crowd below, where many folks just stood still, nobody wanting to break that moment. The setting made it all the more mysterious. Sydney had seen cross-shaped clouds on Good Friday the year before, and there were strange lights in Queensland, blamed on rockets or satellites. But this time, the cross shape was clear. The light didn't look like normal reflections, and its path didn't match any announced flight routes. Matthew 24-30 came to mind like a gentle hint. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Experts jumped in right away. Some said it was a rare atmospheric thing, light bending from ice crystals. Others mentioned test aircraft or space debris reflecting lights into a cross shape. Online folks picked apart every frame, measuring angles of light and comparing speeds. But no explanation had that final piece. Science tried to figure it out, but the more they looked, the less certain it seemed. In that gap, the Bible didn't come to argue. It just quietly pointed toward a deeper meaning in the sign. The cross has long stood for sacrifice and redemption, and when it showed up in the night sky at the start of the year, many felt a soft reminder. Faith isn't the answer to every measurement, but it's the guide for moments we can't measure. The object finally faded into the dark, leaving the sky like it was before, but the feeling stayed. If science can't give the last word, and faith quietly opens a door, which way do you lean when you think about that cross hanging up there? One thing's for sure, the message of salvation got brought up again just as the world stepped into a year full of worry. And with the cross appearing like that, the question hangs heavy. Are bigger signs coming soon? 6. The pink glow in Japan's sky. Japan's night sky suddenly lit up in a way nobody expected. Videos spread like wildfire early on New Year's morning, showing the space above coastal cities bathed in bright pink, like a glowing curtain hanging in the air. It shocked folks so much that many just stood there frozen. The first feeling wasn't, wow, that's pretty, but uneasy, as if the sky had changed color to send some urgent warning. The glow didn't flash and vanish. It spread out slow and wide and deep, covering the whole horizon. That pink wasn't soft, or like city lights. It had a thick, heavy tone, making the sky look like it was shining from the inside. In the videos, buildings sat quiet under this strange light, while people below looked confused. No explosion sounds, no meteor shower, no alerts beforehand. Auroras are rare in Japan, but scientists soon explained it, pointing to the strong solar activity cycle in 2026. High-energy particles hitting the atmosphere caused this unusual aurora at lower latitudes. Some experts warned about possible effects on power grids and satellites, like what happened in the US and Europe from 2024 to 2025, when skies lit up on New Year's Eve too. Science explains the how, but not the feeling. For many watching those videos, the worry wasn't just the light, it was what it might mean. Amid the technical breakdowns, the Bible came up as another way to read the same sign. Joel 2:30 got quoted again. I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke. With that pink covering the sky at the start of the year, those words suddenly felt more real than ever. The two views side by side make a clear contrast. One talks particles, magnetic fields, and solar cycles. The other sees a warning sign, the sky shifting color to wake people up. Science reassures it's a rare natural event. The Bible suggests these wonders in the heavens come before big changes. Between those two takes, Which one do you lean toward when you see that bright pink sky on New Year's night? The glow finally faded, leaving the usual dark sky, but that uneasy feeling lingered. Comments kept saying it. This wasn't just light, it was a reminder the world is heading into more unpredictable days. And as that pink vanished from Japan's sky, one question hung in the air. Was it just harmless beauty? Or the first hint of darker things ahead? 7. The fireworks accident in Iran. The square was lit up bright, music pounding, and crowds packed in tight on New Year's Eve. The fireworks celebration in Iran kicked off with laughter, folks holding up their phones to capture the moment the new year rolled in. As the sky got ready to light up, nobody figured that just seconds later, all that shared happiness would get torn apart, and the big gathering would turn into a haunting memory. In the videos going around, the chaos hit almost right away. Fireworks shot down low instead of up into the sky, sparks flying straight into the crowd. Explosions boomed close to the ground, screams overlapping, panicked people trampling each other trying to get out. Looking at that scene, it's easy to feel the fear spreading faster than the flames, and the sense that any one of us could have been standing there. The damage was reported quick. Hundreds got burns and injuries from the crush. Many rushed to the hospital in emergencies. Some didn't make it. Fire caught on decorations. Thick smoke covered the whole area, making rescue efforts even harder. Those casualty numbers aren't just cold stats. They mean families shattered in a moment they'd waited all year for. In the middle of it all, the Bible gets brought up like a strong warning against ignoring risks and lives. Revelation 9:18 hits hard. A third of mankind was killed by the 3 plagues of fire, smoke, and sulfur that came out of their mouths. When fireworks, a symbol of joy, turn into fire and smoke in the middle of a crowd, those words suddenly carry a different weight, like an accusation against the habit of brushing off consequences. Debates flared up right away. One side says it was just a technical mishap, from wrong setup or unsafe gear in loose oversight. Another questions putting on a big crowd event with high-power fireworks when safety warnings have been around for ages. On the flip side, some push back against attaching religious meaning to a tragedy, calling it too emotional. Those differing views sit side by side. They don't cancel each other out, but they're not easy to reconcile either. Still, what's undeniable is how thin the line is between celebration and disaster, thinner than we think. When New Year's Eve turns into a night of fire and crying, the warning becomes clear. Ignoring community safety always comes at a cost. It's repeated in lots of comments. This isn't just one isolated accident, but a sign of growing problems spreading across festivals worldwide. Fire fell from the sky into the New Year crowd, and as the ashes settle, the question hangs open for the future. Will global celebrations learn the lesson before the next joy gets burned away by the very light people created? 8. Floods on the Abobo River in Aceh, Indonesia. In just a few shaky frames from quick-shot videos, the Abobo River in Aceh burst its banks, sweeping mud and trash right into the villages early on New Year's morning. The new year had barely started when it got swallowed up, and watching that murky water surge without warning, the shared feeling is nobody was ready for an opening like this. The water came up so fast it took your breath away. Roads to hospitals got cut off. Low roofs vanished after a few hours. Rice paddies and coffee groves sank deep in the muck. In the videos, folks stand on tin roofs waving for help, eyes worn out, calls for rescue blending with the roar of rushing water. A new year kicks off with total despair, where hope gets carried off with every muddy swell. The numbers hit you hard. From November 2025 to early 2026, Aceh saw over 1,000 people killed, close to 400,000 evacuated, thousands of hectares of farmland wrecked. This flood cut off places like Gayo Luz completely, so aid depends on choppers and pleas for help from abroad. Hearing those figures on day one of the year, it's not just heartache, but worry about what's coming next. The question comes up, why, with the old year wrapped up, doesn't the trouble end? Weather experts blame it on weirdly long rains, plus hilly land and cut down forests that can't hold the water anymore. Climate change strings these wild events together, and Aceh ends up as one of the hardest hit spots. Science explains how it works, but it can't ease the hurt for families who lost homes and loved ones right at the New Year's turn. In that scene, the Bible shows up like a charge against the world's mess. Luke 21:25 rings out eerie. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On earth, nations in distress, perplexed by the sea's roar and waves. As river water climbs and engulfs villages, those words aren't vague anymore. They're right there in every muddy shot and sob. Floods aren't just Aceh's problem, but a nudge that we're all paying for how we've handled nature. A line folks say a lot after disasters. The water's rising not only from rain, but from years of built-up errors. The new year starts with people hanging onto rooftops, and the alert stands out sharper than ever. The Abobo will pull back eventually, but the scars stay. And with water still climbing in spots worldwide, the big question dangles. Is this another regular flood, or the start of a fresh great deluge we're not geared up to handle? 9. Landslide in Alta, Norway. A deep, low rumble tore through the quiet of the Arctic region. The ground suddenly cracked open, and a whole section of the shore slid away like it was yanked out of place. Right in that first moment of the new year, wooden homes along the edge vanished, floating straight out into Altafjord, leaving behind a chilling empty space that took your breath away. The landslide scene played out like a movie without any cuts. A stretch of Holocene marine clay hundreds of yards long broke apart, carrying off at least 8 cabins and kicking up big waves that slammed into the cliffs. No one got hurt. A dog was pulled to safety just in time, but the helplessness hung heavy. Folks could only watch, unable to hold back a thing. Put yourself there. Would you stay calm enough to believe the ground under your feet was still solid? The geology facts show this land was always fragile. Marine clay left over from after the Ice Age, shaped by the land rising up afterward, seemed sturdy but could give way fast if the balance got upset. The 2026 event followed the pattern of ones before, but on a scale recorded as the biggest ever in the area, leaving scientists shaken too. The Bible talked about shakes like this. Matthew 24:7 says, "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places." Earthquakes, landslides, foundations crumbling. These movements aren't just natural stuff, but signs of a world getting rocked at its core. After the mess, arguments fired up right away. One side says it's just the natural result of climate change and Northern Europe's ground features, something to view through plain science. The other sees it as a holy warning, when nature pushes back against how people exploit and ignore those unseen limits. Which view holds more weight, and where's the line between science and faith? The Bible echoes on like a reminder. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and pestilences, and there will be terrors and great signs from heaven." When the earth quakes and coastlines collapse, that message seems to step right off the page, facing today's reality head-on. No denying it. The ground is shifting. Those solid foundations we count on are being tested. This isn't just Alta's story, but a bigger picture of how fragile we are against forces beyond our control. Homes got swallowed by the earth and drifted out to the cold sea. If one chunk of shore can disappear in a blink, what happens when bigger pieces start to move? That question hangs there as the ground under the world keeps on trembling. 10. Etna eruption in Sicily, Italy. The sky over Sicily lit up like it was torn open. From Etna's slopes, bright red lava streams poured out, shooting high before cascading down like rivers of fire, turning the early New Year sunset into a sight so grand it took your breath away. The ancient volcano roared, lighting up the whole Mediterranean horizon. Facing that sea of flames, who could call it just a normal event? Cracks opened up above 7,000 feet, spewing lava more than 5,000 feet high, flowing hard into the Valle del Bove Valley. Mild explosions at Boca Nuova followed last year's activity, building a steady stream with no end in sight. Videos from watchers show an overwhelming but threatening scene, the mountains seeming to breathe fire from deep inside the earth. Experts spoke up quick. Etna's always been an active volcano, but the strength at the start of 2026 had many geologists warning about rising pressure inside. Local officials issued a green alert, saying populated areas weren't directly threatened yet, but worry spread anyway. When nature shows its raw power like that, can safety maps really keep folks at ease? The Bible rings out like a wake-up call. Revelation 8:8 says, "The second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain, burning with fire, was thrown into the sea." A mountain on fire, lava pouring out. The picture seems right there in front of us, no longer some distant symbol in Revelation. The timing makes a lot of people think. Some say it's just a thousands-year-old geological cycle, fully explained by science. But others see Etna as a warning torch, fire from the earth reminding us of judgment and limits we can't cross. Between those two views, where does each person stand? Scripture keeps shining on what's happening. Hebrews 12:26 says, "At that time his voice shook the earth, but now he has promised, 'Yet once more I will shake not only the earth, but also the heavens.'" When the ground shakes and fire erupts, faith wakes up not from blind fear, but from knowing this visible world isn't an everlasting foundation. Etna keeps erupting, lava keeps flowing, and people watch from between science and faith. But whatever name you give it, that fire sends a clear message about how fragile our current order is. Lava still crawls down the slopes, glowing red in the night. With the flames not out yet, the question hangs there. Is this just the opening act, or a sign of one final fire that'll spread worldwide? So we've just gone through the chaotic events kicking off 2026 around the world. Which moment made you think the most? Share it in the comments below so everyone can hear. 10 events have rolled by like 10 loud bells ringing in the same dark symphony of our time. From white snow freezing far-off lands to floods swallowing villages, from ground collapsing under people's feet to lava fire pouring up from deep in the earth. Heaven and earth seem to be speaking out together, not scattered, not by chance, but linked in one steady chain of signs, coming fast and hard, impossible to ignore. The Bible talked about times like these. Matthew 24:8 warns, "All these are the beginning of birth pains." When you line up each event side by side, from bitter cold to raging seas, from landslides to volcanoes, a bigger picture starts to show. The world is entering a rough shaking up period where everything we thought was solid gets tested. These signs aren't just about nature. They mirror what's going on in people's hearts too. The confusion, fear, arguing, and division spreading everywhere, like the ground cracking open before it falls. Luke 21:26 says, "People will faint from terror, apprehensive of what is coming on the world." It's not only fear of disasters, but that uneasy feeling when folks realize they're no longer in control of things they thought were sure. In the middle of all this mess, the main message gets clearer. It's no accident these signs keep coming, stronger each time. Amos 3:7 reminds us, "Surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants the prophets." Through storms, fire, and floods, a call rings out. Wake up, turn back, take a hard look at the path you're on. The final word isn't some vague threat anymore. It's an urgent cry. God is shouting through this very chaos. Repent or face the end. Not to spread hopelessness, but to offer one last chance to change. Ezekiel 18:32 says it plain, "For I take no pleasure in the death of anyone. Repent and live." But the story isn't over yet. 2026 has only just started, and what we've seen might be only the opening act. When the next sign knocks, will each of us stay quiet or choose to listen? That choice isn't for some far-off tomorrow. It's right here, right now. If something stirs in your heart, a prayer, a thought, or just a quiet concern you can't quite name, Feel free to leave it down in the comments. Let's share with each other so nobody has to face these signs alone. Don't forget to spread the word by liking, sharing, and subscribing so you don't miss any of the warnings God is sending in these days. May peace be with each one of you and your families in a world that's shaking. Amen.
For many in California, the holiday season has arrived.
En la costa, que no van a hacer problemas.
Setting the stage for destructive impacts that would follow.
What's happening when America, the symbol of strength, suddenly seems to tremble before an angry Mother Nature? Roaring waves, rains ripping through the sky, ground cracking open, streets turning into raging rivers, from the coasts to the deep forests, from rivers to the dark of night, 10 disasters hitting one after another like a symphony of destruction. This isn't just random chance. Like the warnings from old prophets, these calamities ring out like alarm bells from above. Time is running short. The familiar order is starting to crack. Do you feel that urgency drawing closer? If each scene is a chapter from Revelation, then the first one's already begun, and the answer is waiting right ahead. So don't miss a single bit of information, and come with me as we dig deeper into the real message hidden behind these natural disasters that seem to be hitting just the United States in recent months. Right now, we're going to start with 1. 3 waterspouts appear off the coast. The ocean was roaring. 3 huge waterspouts suddenly shot straight up into the sky off San Diego, tearing through the deep blue and turning a calm moment into a shocking sight that left us staring at our screens. In the viral video, you can see the sea change color, wind whipping across it, and the horizon broken up by those tall, twisting tubes, like the ocean had just sounded an alarm. Southern California was right in the middle of an atmospheric river then. According to Reuters, heavy rain and strong winds slammed the coast, damaging yachts and waterfront restaurants. The waterspouts showed up just about 5 miles offshore. That weather set the stage for the unbelievable scene. 3 waterspouts forming almost at the same time, twisting hard, their bodies thick with vapor, bases touching the sea, tops reaching the clouds. NBC News described the spouts as hundreds of feet high, knocking over yachts, sweeping away outdoor bars, leaving the water looking like a battlefield, wind howling, waves crashing, debris floating around. Things happened fast. Winds kept shifting. Rain poured down in sheets. The water column spun faster, then slower, then flared up again, an unsteady rhythm that made predicting them almost impossible. Reports pointed out, waterspouts aren't rare, but 3 appearing together, so close to shore, in such extreme weather, that's unusual. Weather experts explained it could tie to the temperature difference between the air and the water, along with low-level spinning winds in odd storm conditions. BBC noted opinions that climate change is making extreme weather events more frequent and intense, so things like this happen more easily. But when we look closer at the video, those spouts rising up and collapsing like the ocean's breathing, a deeper meaning quietly comes through. Revelation 8-7 says, "The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth, not to judge." But those words suggest a warning trumpet, a moment when nature speaks up against people's stubbornness. Psalm 107-25-26 adds, "For he spoke and stirred up a tempest that lifted high the waves. They mounted up to the heavens and went down to the depths," an image that matches those water columns, rising high and crashing down in an eerie way. Science talks about the how, the Bible hints at the why. Between those two views, what's undeniable is the uneasy feeling that lingers after the video ends. The ocean got angry, and a warning has sounded. If out at sea it's already stirring like a trumpet blast, then when that fury hits the land, how will our paths hold up? 2. Roads suddenly turn into rushing waterfalls. No sirens, no time to get ready. In just a few short hours, the roads that connect folks in Wrightwood, Southern California, turned into something tearing the whole area apart. The pavement cracked open, water roared through, and this little mountain town fell into panic as the strongest thing around gave way first. According to CalMatters, California's mountain areas just went through a strong atmospheric river, with more than 11 inches of rain falling in a short time. The ground couldn't soak it up fast enough. The soil got soaked. The land changed almost right away. Roads that handled thousands of cars every day started cracking, then falling apart, like the support underneath had been pulled away. The rushing water hit speeds close to 20 miles an hour, strong enough to rip through 6-inch thick asphalt. In many spots, the road collapsed, forming waterfalls nearly 10 feet high, sweeping away big rocks, mud, and even vehicles that couldn't get out in time. Just think about it. The path you take to get home turns into a roaring waterfall. Joel 2:30 says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." When the earth and water stop working in the usual way, when things happen that go beyond normal predictions, isn't that what those wonders mean? Not to show off power, but to wake us up? Genesis 7:11 tells us, "The fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened." That picture comes back in a scary way when you see roads breaking open like wide chasms, with water pouring down uncontrolled from above. The Great Flood from the Bible doesn't feel like an old story anymore. It seems like a pattern repeating in modern times. FEMA experts say the cause is weak geology mixed with unusual rain from climate change. That makes clear scientific sense. But the question comes up, why are these extreme events happening so often, especially here in America? Is a purely technical view missing a deeper spiritual meaning? The Bible doesn't deny natural laws, but it says many times that nature is a tool God uses to shake people awake. When even paved roads can't hold up, is He asking us about the foundation we're trusting in? And if asphalt roads have turned into waterfalls, how much longer can the paths we think are the strongest really last? 3. Those stone roads split into streams. The air in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina feels heavy and gloomy, like the ground itself is carrying a long weariness. In videos taken during non-stop rain, huge granite rocks that always seemed unbreakable start to crack and split right in front of you, letting muddy floodwaters rush straight through and turn solid rock roads into deep stream channels. There's no loud thunder, just the steady sound of water hitting stone, enough to make anyone watching feel a tightness in their chest, like we're standing right on the edge of something giving way. This disaster comes from repeated flash floods hitting the southeast U.S. after a storm. As FloodList reported, river levels rose more than 10 feet in a short time, completely changing land that's been steady for decades. In the videos, the muddy water surges down with pressure around 15 tons per square foot, strong enough to carve granite into channels nearly 5 feet wide, sweeping away trees, mud, and even the old trails that were lifelines for local folks. Seeing those scenes, it's easy to feel the exhaustion on the faces of people standing helplessly by the water. And maybe you recognize that familiar feeling too, when nature doesn't give us any chance to fight back. In the middle of all that hopelessness, many folks turn to the Bible to make sense of what's happening. Luke 21:25 warns, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Pictures of massive rocks splitting apart and land shaking in the floods remind plenty of people of that prophecy, like the chaos isn't just in the floodwaters, but in the hearts of those watching. Psalm 46:3 says, "Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea." And now the mountains really seem to be shifting right on camera. But not everyone sees it the same way. Many living in the flood areas think it's just the natural result of erosion and long, heavy rains, something science has warned about. On the other hand, those farther from the floods, especially people of faith, say these back-to-back extreme events can't be explained only by geology or weather. Caught between those two views, maybe you're wondering yourself, where's the line between a natural disaster and something with deeper meaning. No matter how you look at it, one thing's hard to deny. Those stone roads that stood for lasting strength are now split into non-stop flowing streams. And if even solid rock can't hold up anymore, what's waiting for the peaceful green areas up ahead? 4. Flood turns park into a raging river. Early one morning in Charleston, South Carolina, there was a sight that stopped anyone cold. A peaceful park swallowed up in just a few hours, trees vanishing under muddy water, familiar paths turning into a fierce river more than 15 feet deep. In the videos spreading fast online, the first feeling isn't curiosity. It's a chill down your spine shock. Because right then, you realize there's no safe line anymore between a spot to relax and one that could take your life. In the southeast coastal areas of the U.S., where the Edisto River rose to 14.5 feet, according to SCEMD, a huge mass of water burst over the banks, sweeping away ancient trees that had stood strong for decades. The water level shot up so quick in such a short time that the park's flat ground couldn't drain the flood anymore, turning the whole green space into a temporary riverbed, wild and out of control. Those dry numbers hit harder than any description when you see the real pictures. Next, the water rushed along at about 10 miles an hour, strong enough to rip up stone benches, signs, and even the solid brick paths. The roaring sound of water crashing into tree trunks never stopped, like some giant creature had woken up and was tearing through everything in its path. Watching that, a lot of folks couldn't help putting themselves in the shoes of the neighbors around the park, where just hours before it was a regular walking spot. With the flood so overwhelming, local authorities quickly sent out urgent warnings, telling people to evacuate low areas, banning anyone from going near the park or nearby roads. The alerts kept stressing the risk of water rising more, threatening lives if anyone stayed, showing this wasn't some short thing but an emergency needing action right away. While those everyday warnings went out, the Bible comes up for many as a deeper kind of alert. Revelation 16:3 says, "The second angel poured out his bowl on the sea, and it turned into blood like that of a dead person," a scary picture of water changing from life-giving to a sign of disaster. Amos 5:8 also mentions the one who turns the sea into dry land, reminding us the other way around, like a park becoming a river. That familiar order can flip any time. Of course, some say it's just the result of rising sea levels and extreme weather, like plenty of news reports explain. But for quite a few, the symbolism of a park standing for peace, turning into a raging river, is hard to ignore. Between those two views, the question isn't just about causes, but how people choose to hear the warnings. What's clear is this flood didn't just carry off trees and paths, it washed away the idea that we have total control. And when a park can turn into a raging river in the blink of an eye, what more intense things waiting quietly ahead will show us next. 5. Mysterious boiling water columns in the flooded areas. The floodwaters in Pennsylvania didn't rush in all at once with a big roar. They crept in slowly, covering the lower streets like a heavy blanket. In videos taken during the flood, things looked pretty normal at first. Muddy water lapping over car tires, steady rain coming down, folks standing under porches waiting for it to go away. But then, right in the middle of that seemingly lifeless flow, some strange movements started showing up. It gave anyone watching a chill down their spine, like we were seeing something that wasn't supposed to happen. From cracks in the road and deeper flooded spots, columns of water suddenly shot up, bubbling and swirling in a weird way. Videos shared by witnesses and picked up by Reuters showed some of these columns reaching nearly 8 feet high, spraying non-stop with a high-pitched whistling sound that's nothing like regular flood noise. What really gave people the creeps was the hot feeling they described when standing close, as if the water carried some odd energy inside it. Watching that scene, a lot of viewers felt the same uneasy thing, like staring at a door cracking open to some deeper level below. Earlier, the area had been hit by flash floods after about 4 inches of rain fell in a short time, according to FloodList. That stranded vehicles and overloaded the drainage systems. Normally, floodwater just flows along the land. But this time, these bubbling columns rising from below threw off all the usual expectations. The sight of water pushing upward and spraying in the middle of the flood made everything feel eerie, like the ground was pushing back against the pressure from above. In the middle of all that confusion, some folks brought up the Bible as a possible hint for what was going on. Exodus 7:20 says, Moses raised his staff and struck the water in the river, and the water turned to blood, picturing a scary change in water from life-giving to a sign of disaster. Revelation 8:8 also says, the second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, suggesting a mix of fire and water, things that seem opposites. When you put those Bible verses next to the images of bubbling hot columns in the flood, many watchers couldn't help thinking this might be some kind of symbolic reminder rather than just chance. Of course, opposing views came up quick. Some scientists, according to USGS, said the phenomenon could be from trapped gas underground, releasing when water pressure built up, creating fake boiling water columns. On the other hand, people of faith wondered why such a rare thing showed up right during back-to-back disasters, with images so close to ancient descriptions. Caught between those two explanations, every viewer has to decide for themselves. Is this just nature's physical reaction, or a sign with a deeper message? No matter how you explain it, those bubbling water columns in the flood left a lingering, uneasy feeling that's hard to shake. And if strange movements like that can appear right in the water, what might be waiting ahead when huge metal objects get swept into the flood? 6. Container truck helpless in the floodwaters. In Kansas, folks don't beat around the bush. There's a 40-foot container truck sitting dead still in the middle of the flood, the body submerged almost up to the roof, and the rain still pouring down without letting up. That picture shows up on the screen like a straight-up warning, because just one quick look tells you that if something that's a symbol of hauling power can be that helpless, then us regular people are even more vulnerable. The heavy storm with big rains turned a lot of roads into temporary rivers. According to FEMA reports, water levels in some parts of Kansas rose to about 12 feet, bringing traffic to a complete standstill. In the viral video going around, the container is sunk deep in murky water about 8 feet high, wheels gone from sight, engine silent, while the rain keeps adding nearly 2 inches to the water level every hour. The current presses in from all sides, not rushing like a waterfall, but steady enough to make any rescue attempts slow and risky. That helplessness isn't just in the metal. Later footage shows local folks trapped in flooded areas, moving on makeshift paths, piling their belongings high on pickup truck beds, faces worn out after hours of waiting. Urgent alerts from local authorities keep going out, telling people to stay away from deep flooded roads, warning about fast rising water and sudden power outages. Schools shut down, supply chains get disrupted, everyday life gets squeezed in this long feeling of being stuck. Amid those official warnings, the Bible comes up like a direct call-out on human overconfidence. Matthew 24-39 says, "And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away." A reminder that disasters don't wait for anyone to get ready. Psalm 69-15 cries out, "Let not the floodwaters engulf me, or the depths swallow me up," echoing how those folks surrounded by water feel with no clear way out. When you put these Bible verses next to the image of that motionless container, the contrast hits hard. All our technical strength and big industry can't keep us standing against rising waters. Some say the main cause is weak drainage systems and planning that hasn't kept up with climate change, like analyses from the NWS point out. That makes sense, but plenty of others see the symbolic side of the scene and ask, why exactly do these symbols of human capability get exposed as so powerless, right when disasters keep coming one after another? The clash between technical explanations and spiritual feelings makes the debate intense, not easy to bridge. What can't be denied is that the flood has shattered the illusion of control. When a huge container truck is just a lifeless obstacle in the swirling water, the warning message comes through loud and clear. Human pride is being put to the test. And if those big steel boxes can be overcome like that, then when the waters rush into the vast forests ahead, what else will get swept away next? 7. The forest suddenly turns into a swampy marsh. Some sorrows don't need tears. They spread quietly, soaking into the soil, the water, the fading green of life. In southwestern Colorado, a vast and sturdy forest suddenly became a gloomy swamp. Muddy floodwaters rushed in like nature's heavy sigh. Trees swayed and leaned, roots ripped up. The ground turned soft and mushy, like it couldn't hold itself up anymore. From the video footage, the water rose to about 10 feet. The current raced at nearly 15 miles an hour, sweeping away all the familiar paths. An area around 5 square miles got covered, water over halfway up the tree trunks, turning old trails into little rivers and silence into fear. It wasn't loud, but it felt heavy, like the earth was bowing to something it couldn't fight. Have you ever stood in a place that used to be full of green life, then seen it drowned in mud, and wondered what made everything change so fast? That question doesn't need an answer right away, but it hangs there in the mind of anyone watching, like a gentle but deep reminder. Isaiah 24:4 says, "The earth mourns and withers, the world languishes and withers. The highest people of the earth languish." When a forest turns to swamp, when the ground isn't dry enough to carry people's steps, it feels like that mourning rewritten in water and mud. It's not just a natural disaster, but a quiet indictment of the broken relationship between people and creation. Local authorities sent out urgent warnings, telling folks to stay away from the flooded areas, limit travel because forest roads were cut off, small bridges washed away. Everyday life became a real hassle. Clean water was scarce, getting food supplies was tough. Many families cut off in the middle of all that water. Rescue teams moved slowly through the strong currents, facing mud and fallen trees blocking the way. Every step a tense effort. Revelation 11:18 warns, "The time has come to destroy those who destroy the earth." Those Bible words ring out not like thunder, but like a steady knock on the conscience. When forests drown in water, when nature looks like sorrow, it might be a reminder that every action leaves a mark. This moment ends in heavy silence. The water keeps rising, the forest keeps sinking, and in that murky mud, abandoned cars lie scattered. When the floods recede, what story will they tell about us? About the choices that led to this day? 8. Scattered vehicle remains. A heavy silence falls over everything, like a thick blanket. No more engine noises, no more of that familiar rush of daily life, just a cold wind brushing past twisted metal frames. Standing there, in front of that scene, don't you feel like this quiet weighs more than any sound you've ever heard? In the areas where the water has pulled back in northwestern Oregon, cars and pickup trucks lie tilted and still, like a graveyard amid the wreckage. According to news reports, after the flooding from the atmospheric river, as the water receded, it didn't just leave behind mud, it uncovered traces of a life that used to be bustling. Roads that were once busy with traffic are now empty and cold, where metal piles up on top of each other, and you can't tell anymore where the lanes were or where people stopped. Over a stretch about 2 miles long, vehicles are scattered everywhere, some leaning way over to one side, others nose down in mud up to 3 feet deep. That mud covers the wheels and bodies completely, like it's trying to erase any sign of movement. The contrast hits you hard. Places that were once full of noise are now silent. What used to stand for motion and freedom now sits motionless, left to the mercy of time. Ezekiel 6:3 once warned, "I will lay the high places of Israel waste." Looking at those rows of scattered cars feels no different from standing in an abandoned city where man's works suddenly lose their meaning. It doesn't take total destruction. Just the absence of life is enough to turn a lively space into ruins. Some folks say this is just the result of traffic accidents during the flood, that cars got swept away and left behind, something you can explain with engineering and circumstances. Weather agencies and local authorities point to extreme weather, unusual rainfall, and low-lying land as the main causes. From a neutral view, those explanations make sense. Natural disasters always bring chaos that's hard to control, and people are usually just trying to cope. But when pictures of these vehicle wrecks keep showing up in different places, looking so similar, other questions come up. Matthew 24-28 says, "Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather." That warning isn't about individual cars, it's about signs, about places where life pulls away and leaves a cold void. A deadly silence can sometimes echo louder than any explanation. This moment ends on a heavy note. Maybe God is warning us through that very silence, through things we think are lifeless, but carry deep meaning. And as the camera slowly pulls up high, taking in the full view of where the flood has passed, what other horrors might those motionless vehicle remains reveal waiting ahead? 9. Close-up view of the floodwaters from above. Overwhelming. That's the first feeling when the view opens up from high above, showing the faint yellow lights of a restaurant out in the woods at Edisto Beach, South Carolina, getting swallowed by a thick mass of muddy water rushing past all boundaries. Looking down, the big stretch of forest isn't a forest anymore. It's just a flat, violently moving surface where every tree trunk is taken over by the flood, like they have no right to stand there. The flood shows total domination, relentless and frightening. The heavy water surges forward, carrying branches, trash, mud, crashing into trees with speed that makes everything shake in the dim light. According to SCEMD, steady rain over time pushed the river levels unusually high, turning an area nearly 3 miles wide into one huge flow. The force is strong enough to sweep away trucks weighing up to 10 tons, leaving you with the sense that nothing can hold up against this rage. Seeing that scene, who can still believe we're fully in control of nature? In the middle of it all, local authorities keep sending out urgent warnings, telling folks to stay away from flooded spots, not cross fast-moving water, and be ready to evacuate. Damage reports come in fast. Roads cut off, power out, property swept away in just hours. The speed and power of the flood leave no room for hesitation. It forces everything into a helpless state, where one wrong choice could cost a life. Genesis 7:19 once said, "The waters rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains were covered." The view from above right now makes that Bible verse feel not like an old story, but a living accusation. The water doesn't just rise, it rules, covers everything, and blurs the line between safety and destruction. As the flood swirls like a living thing, Revelation 12:15 echoes like a chilling explanation. The serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a river to sweep away the woman. From up high, that water looks just like a monster spewing out, dragging everything into an end-of-the-world vortex. Even if meteorologists explain it as the result of terrain and heavy rain, based on common scientific views, the visual match still makes it hard for many to ignore. This moment ends on a heavy note. This isn't just a weather event, but a final wake-up call, forcing us to face how fragile we really are. And if it's already this terrifying in daylight, what kind of face will that flood monster show when night falls? 10. The flood like a monster crawling through the night. Creepy. Scary. As soon as night fell over the deep woods in Washington state, that feeling spread like a chill running through your skin. The weak yellow flashlight beams weren't strong enough to light up much. They just let you catch glimpses of something moving, twisting, crawling in the dark, like the darkness itself had come alive and started swallowing up whatever was left. The flood wasn't rushing the way you'd expect. It slipped through the tall bushes nearly 50 feet high, wrapped around the tree trunks, rose almost to the tops, leaving behind a thick, heavy space. The black water reflected the lights in twisted streaks, making the whole scene feel like one long nightmare. The power of the flood wasn't loud or explosive. It was slow, steady, and frightening, like a patient monster moving forward, step by step, taking over the land of the living. Seeing that, who could feel safe standing in front of nature, moving like that, in the dark? According to NBC reports, the flooding in western Washington started after days of heavy rain in a row, with water building up at night, making it harder than ever to see and respond. Local authorities warned folks to stay away from the forests and low areas because in the darkness, the water could suddenly change direction, sweeping everything away without any warning. The danger right now isn't just from the force of the water, but from how invisible it is. Jeremiah 4:23 describes a scene that's chilling to the bone. I looked at the earth, and it was empty and wasted. I looked at the sky, and it had no light. Those images from the night flood make that Bible verse ring out like a first judgment, where the light is taken away, leaving people to face emptiness and helplessness on their own. Of course, there are neutral views that say the creepy feeling just comes from the rough terrain and the dark, according to NWS analyses, that in daylight, the water is just a normal river event. But when darkness covers everything, when familiar shapes get distorted, why does that sight stir up such a deep, symbolic fear? Revelation 9:2 goes on like a final pronouncement. It opened the shaft of the bottomless pit, and from the shaft rose smoke like the smoke of a great furnace. The flood at night, with its twisting and thick blackness, is no different from a bottomless pit opened up in the world, where darkness doesn't just cover the land, but tests people's faith too. This final moment closes with a heavy but hopeful truth. Through the darkness and fear, the Lord doesn't abandon us. He's guiding humanity to look straight at how fragile we are, so we can find the light again. And if this is just the beginning of that series of signs, what else is waiting ahead in the end times? 10 moments have come to an end, like 10 bells ringing one after another in the long night of humanity. From angry oceans with huge walls of water rising up out of nowhere, cars stuck helpless in floods, to forests turned into swamps, abandoned vehicles sitting quiet, and floodwaters creeping forward in the dark, all of it is no longer just separate events. When you put them side by side, they form one heavy, haunting picture. It's as if nature everywhere is speaking up at the same time, pointing in the same direction. The last days aren't some far-off idea anymore. They're getting very close. Looking back over the whole journey, you can see each moment has its own feel, but they all carry the same message. Water rushed through cities, deep woods, roads, and homes, wiping out the safe boundaries people once trusted. That power didn't care about rich or poor, city or wilderness, day or night. It came fast and overwhelming, then left behind a scary silence when it pulled back. In that silence, people have no choice but to face the bigger question: are we really ready? Matthew 24-44 sums it all up through every one of these signs. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. That Bible verse isn't meant to scare anyone. It's a call to stay awake. These 10 moments aren't just about natural disasters. They're a call to repent, turn back, and fix the path of our hearts before it's too late. When nature shakes, it's not only the earth and sky changing, it's a mirror showing how fragile pride is and how much we need faith. The mystery is still there. Disasters may not be over. More floods, storms, and upheavals could keep coming, maybe in different forms, stronger, harder to predict. But even in the middle of all that fear, there's still a way out for anyone willing to listen, to be humble, and to turn back to the Lord. It's not strength or technology that will save us. It's staying awake, repenting, and holding on to steady faith. If you're watching these moments, take a second to pause, pray, and ask yourself, what's in your heart? Stay awake, repent, and put your full trust in the Lord, because that's the only foundation that won't get washed away. Feel free to leave a prayer in the comments, or share your own thoughts and feelings. Every honest word can lift someone else up. If this touched you, please like, share, and subscribe so we can keep staying awake and walking together in faith. Thank you to everyone who listened all the way to the end. May the Lord bless and protect you and your family on every road ahead. Amen.
Storm continues to head east, and it's hammering Ontario and Quebec with snow.
We're going to be doing these updates every half hour.
Holy shit!
What would happen if Christmas wasn't about lights and carols anymore, but howling winds like a judgment call? If right on the holiest night of the year, nature suddenly got mad, swallowing people up in ice, snow, and darkness, would you dare believe it's just chance? Or is it a warning that's been sent, cold and unrelenting? Early morning on the 24th of December 2025, while California was still wrapped in holiday cheer, a bomb cyclone from the Pacific suddenly slams into Sierra Nevada. Snow dumps 2-3 feet thick. Winds howl at 70 miles per hour, blanking everything out in a whiteout that drops visibility to zero. Just hours later, Donner Pass, that pass with its bloody history, turns into an icy hell. Over 10 cars pile up on I-80 near Truckee. Traffic backs up for miles and gets stuck, Christmas frozen amid wailing sirens and fear. The accidents don't stop. Up on Echo Summit, cars spin out in the snow. CHP keeps getting crash reports. Power cuts out. Thousands of homes plunge into darkness. Everything hits fast and furious, like time's getting squeezed in the storm. Can you feel the heartbeat of the chaos? Can you hear what the wind's whispering? The Bible once said, "But all these things are merely the beginning of birth pains, when the sun goes dark and order crumbles." Is this just El Niño, like science says? Or a scary repeat of what happened at Donner in 1846? If God's using storms to wake us up, the scarier question is this really just the start? And if so, where's the next nightmare waiting for us, right after this howling wind? Let's join me in digging deep to uncover the real truth about what these chains of events truly mean. Chaos at Donner Pass, the mark of a natural disaster. Something nobody could have imagined happened right on Christmas night. Donner Pass gave way. No warning sirens, no big explosion, just snow and ice pouring down like a cold wall, winds howling and ripping through the I-80 freeway, and cars slowly vanishing into that deadly white. While the rest of us were thinking about Christmas lights and family get-togethers up on the Sierra Nevada peaks, time seemed to freeze, traffic ground to a halt, and one of California's main arteries shut down in just a few short hours. That Christmas didn't start with carols, it started with pure chaos. It all kicked off fast, almost without a moment to catch your breath. At exactly 12:18 p.m. on December 24, 2025, Caltrans had to order all westbound traffic to turn around at the Truckee and Donner Lake interchange after a bunch of uncontrolled spinouts. You can picture hundreds of drivers stuck there, snow keeping on, falling thick, and the wind starting to roar like an open door. By late afternoon, things had turned into total mayhem. A pileup involving more than 10 vehicles happened on Donner Summit near Castle Peak in whiteout conditions where visibility dropped to zero. Winds hit 70 miles per hour, felt like temperatures down to minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and many drivers were trapped in their cars for hours, unable to move forward or back. ABC 10 reported injuries, while photos from the scene showed vehicles buried under more than 2 feet of snow, looking like they were frozen in time. The backups weren't just one way. According to SF Gate, both eastbound and westbound lanes of I-80 were held up at different times, turning Donner Pass into a complete bottleneck right during peak holiday travel. Over on Echo Summit, Highway 50 wasn't much better, with dozens of spinouts reported by CHP, leading to local power outages that affected thousands of homes in the mountains. Christmas, in an instant, turned into a string of emergency sirens, flashing lights, and feeling helpless against nature. Isaiah 13, 13 puts it plain, before the full prophecy, "Therefore I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will be shaken out of its place, in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, in the day of his fierce anger." Put those words next to what's happening at Donner Pass, and a lot of